hello, hello. Welcome in, gamers. Welcome to the spring kickoff. We'll get started soon. Going to the next slide. We have a little sign-in form, so if you could please, give that a little scan and sign in. That would be very helpful. Thank you very much. Give that a little bit of time.
Oh,
Well,
well,
okay.
I can just message Crystal.
All right, so we're messaging someone to kind of fix access on that, but if you could just save that link and then we'll see it should open up soon and then we'll be able to. Okay, so if you have a Utex's email, try that and that should work. Otherwise we might still just try to open it for anyone else. Give that a little bit more time. All right, just a few more. All right, well, I guess we'll move on. All right, everybody, welcome to our kickoff, Spring 2026 kickoff for EGaDS. Who's excited? That wasn't quite loud enough. All right. All right, welcome everyone to our kickoff. We've seen a lot of exciting things from our events last semester and last year, but we have a ton of new stuff that we want to showcase for y'all this semester for what we have going on before we hand it off to our speaker. So first, just about us. So what is EGaDS? We are the Electronic Game Developer Society. We are the student org on campus for anyone with an interest in game development, whether that's programming, art, music, business, etc. Of course, we're under the CS department, but we're truly meant to be, an organization for everyone on campus who has an interest in game development, interdisciplinary community, professional, creative, and educational. And yeah, our mission is to grow students and foster a welcoming community. And then here's just a little sneak peek. A lot of the games that we made in the recent past, of course, in the middle of Refresh, which was from a group of UT students from a couple years back, and then a bunch of other games from separate game jams in our past, and things like that. So we've had a lot of great games, if you think about it, a lot of these great games from students that go on to get real professions in game development, this is a really good opportunity for you. And the next slide. So about who runs EGaDS. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go through really quickly. I'll point to people, whoever is here. If not, we'll just kind of keep going. So my name is Zion. I'm the president of EGaDS. We have Chris. We'll do a pause at the end. We have Crystal, our events officer. We have Nayan, our community and socials officer. We have Sophie right here, who is our webmaster/historian. We have Julie, our design officer. And right here with Bernice, our outreach and recruitment officer. We have a round of applause for those officers. All right, and then moving on to the next round. So we have Giancarlo, our Unity Workshops officer. If you want to learn anything about making games in Unity. We have Lucy, our Art Workshops officer. We'll talk more about workshops in a bit. Ethan, our treasurer, who is probably outside getting the pizzas coming in real soon. We have Connor, our sponsorships officer, which helps us to get all of our money. We have Jawad, our industry officer, who helps with the speakers and connecting with the industry. And we have Anna, our communications officer, who does all the announcements and our Instagram posts. Let's get a round of applause for them. And then finally, we have our two technical officers, Josh, our technical officer, and Gio, our technical officer. This is like a new role that came for you guys this year, and they've been really, helpful because, for example, Josh, basically what the technical officer role does is helps with all the technical background, with projects at EGaDS. So, for example, we just had our mega micro gym, and Josh was helping to lead that project and lead that to completion. And of course, we also have Jude, who helps with sort of like, back end, with things like server bots and things like that for our game jams. So round of applause for them as well. And of course, we have a list of all of our junior officers who are part of EGaDS as well, and they are shadowing current officers and learning how to, get more involved by, learning through, what the current officers do and just getting more experience. So yeah. Yeah. All right. Now into all of our events that we have got coming up. So first, kind of general overview. So of course we have our speaker nights. This is where we have talks hosted by people from the games industry. So today our kickoff, we have a talk that counts as a speaker night. We have upcoming ones in February. So in March we have GDC Squared, which I'm going to talk more about, but that's our big sort of industry conference event. And then we have one more in April. So you'll hear from industry professionals from all sorts of parts of the game industry, from different companies, studios, different professions, things like that. You can ask questions about working in the games industry, and past speakers include people from these companies: PlayStation, Riot, Zynga, Niantic, Bethesda, Treyarch. So yeah, that's all about our speaker nights. And then workshops. So workshops, what we do is we have Unity and art-related workshops. So these are 2 Tuesdays every month. This is from 6 to 8 p.m. in GC 4.304. And then, this semester, what we usually do is we actually alternate between 2D and 3D. So for the art this semester, we're actually focusing on 3D art, where last semester we focused on 2D. Our first intro workshop will be like a joint workshop. That's going to be next Tuesday, January 20th. And then, so anyone is welcome to join, no matter what skill level you're at, and you can join any workshop. Even if you missed a couple, right, you can definitely come at a later one. And yeah. So Dev Nights. So Dev Nights is basically an event we have every Wednesday, 5 to 7 p.m. So usually we alternate between in-person and Discord. I think this semester we're going to be going for more in-person Dev Nights. So usually Dev Nights is basically just a chill space to talk with other game developers, people in EGaDS, EGaDS alumni, and like work on your own projects. But what we've actually done last semester is we've had a sort of like Dev Nights semester-long project, and basically that is going to be kind of continuing into this semester. And more people are also welcome to join the Dev Nights and see what the project is all about. But yeah, very fun stuff, and we're planning to have people that work at Dev Nights to showcase at the end of the semester at the digital demo day. So that's all about Dev Nights. And then Game Sprouts. So Game Sprouts are basically something that happens the first of every month. So there's a next prompt releasing in February. So basically, what a Game Sprout is a way for you to work on a small piece of a game, rather than an entire game, right? So instead of like a full game jam, you can just work on a piece of art, or the game mechanics, some music, some sounds, and basically it has to be around a certain theme, right? So every month there's like a theme. I think usually like in October, because it was like Halloween, the theme was like spooky, so you have to make something that fits that theme. And yeah, you can showcase your abilities in a specific area, and there is a prize pool that happens with Game Sprouts. And then social events. So we have lots of different kinds of social events. With movie nights, Halloween social, past crossover events, free food. So yeah, we have a ton of exciting social events that we've had coming up this next semester. Last semester we tried a lot of like different inter-org social events. So we'll probably try more of those, and yeah, just have lots of different fun stuff coming up. And then game jams. So game jams, they're around 2 to 3 every year. So there actually are going to be a few more that we're going to talk about in a bit. But yeah, every fall we have Texas Game Jam. We don't have a major game jam in the spring semester because we have our GDC Square event. But yeah, for to kind of recall Texas Game Jam, this was the largest game jam, basically student-run game jam in the world. We had a whopping 89 game submissions. And yeah, we have also, in addition to Texas Game Jam, we have different experimental game jams, such as the Mega Micro Game Jam that happened this winter over the break. And yeah, so let's get a little round of applause for Texas Game Jam. Yeah. Alrighty, and then moving on. So upcoming events and updates. So those are our general events. Now let's get on to the specifics of what y'all can see. So yeah, we have a gaming social planned 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 29th. This will be in the Alienware Gaming Lounge, and you'll be able to play on a variety of games on different consoles. So yeah, that'll be a good first opportunity to game with others, meet your other fellow EGaDS members, and yeah, it'll be really fun. So workshops, as I mentioned, we have our first workshop that is on Tuesday, January 20th, and it will be in room 4.304. So we'll start with a Unity workshop, basics getting started, and then we'll have some details on 3D digital art from our two workshops officers. So definitely look into that if you really just want to get started and learn some stuff in game development, especially 3D. So global game jam. So this is a game jam we don't, EGaDS doesn't host, but we help out with greatly. So this is happening on Friday, January 30th through Sunday, February 1st. This is the Austin chapter of the Global Game Jam, which happens every year. And yeah, if you want to participate in this game jam, you should definitely do so. There's a QR code to scan to join the Discord. I myself participated in it before. It's a really good experience, and also just a really good experience to meet people, not just at UT, but other people in Austin and the broader game dev community. So I guess I'll give a little bit of that for folks to scan the QR code before we move along. Alrighty, and then of course all the slides will be posted afterward. So yeah, we'll move on to the next slide. So we have the KomoriCon Game Jam. So we actually have a representative here from KomoriCon if you'd like to give away.
Hi, thank you. I'm Boping Lee from KomoriCon. We are a one-day anime convention hosted here on campus at the Alumni Center. We normally have artist alleys, cosplay contests, and anything else you would find at an anime convention. But this year we're also with EGaDS hosting a game jam. Last year we did things like a game tournament, but this year we wanted to have more UT involvement. So here we are.
Awesome, thank you very much. So yeah, so we're doing a collab game jam with KomoriCon. I'm sure there's a lot of overlap with sort of the anime con communities and game development. So if you're interested in doing a game jam that's also going to be related to that con and sort of some anime themes, definitely scan the QR code. So this is a really exciting opportunity because the game jam will be happening on basically next weekend on this one, January 23rd to 25th. But after this game jam, there will be a voting period from y'all on itch.io. And then basically the top selections get a chance to present their game at KomoriCon, which will have a ton of people coming in. And then there will be even more prizes, cash prizes at the event itself. So definitely join and look into that game jam if you're interested. Give a few more seconds on this one. We've got some people slowly bringing up their phones to scan as they slowly gain interest. You can do it, don't be afraid. Game jams are really good. Alrighty, I think that is good. Now let's move on to the next one. So GDC Squared is our biggest event of this semester. It is happening March 7th through 8th. You'll be able to listen to speakers on different opportunities of the games industry, very top tier speakers from all across the country. Last year we had our GDC Squared, and that was our first time we were a South by Southwest affiliated event. So you'll be able to network up with other game developers. There's going to be an indie games showcase. So there's going to be showcases from different studios around Austin, things like that. And you'll have the opportunity to showcase your own game. So maybe if you're working on a game or you're working with a group of people, this is also a good opportunity. There's also a contest that we have at this that you'll be able to win prizes. So this is a really good opportunity. Last year we had at least like over 200 attendees, which was really good. So yeah, we'll have more information on GDC Square. We'll have an announcement and sign up form within the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's a really good date to mark on the calendar. So Mega Micro Jam. So this is a jam that already happened. This isn't another game jam to do, but we just wanted to give you all a little update. So Mega Micro Jam happened over this winter break, and we successfully, basically the project team for the Mega Micro Jam worked hard and successfully completed the game jam game. So if you didn't know, this was basically a game that compiles a bunch of different teams, mini games together into one big game jam, kind of like WarioWare, if y'all are familiar with that series where we play through a lot of mini games. So this is really fun. I think the QR code has a link to the itch, and there's also that itch right there. We have a little animation of the game itself. I think that the theme was basically this year it was like wintry, or there was like a deer theme, and basically the theme was like the wrong tool for the job. So yeah, that's a really fun game. Definitely give it a go. And then mentorship program. So this is something that also is carried from last semester. So this is a program where basically you can be paired up with a mentor or a mentee, and basically find someone else within the EGaDS community to give you advice, or if you want to give advice to like upperclassmen to lowerclassmen, etc. Yeah, and we'll have I think we'll have an update soon on stuff like that if you're not already in that program. All right, and our t-shirt design. So if you guys do not know, we have our t-shirt design, which is Starview Valley t-shirt. Get a round of applause. So this t-shirt will be basically ordered soon. Kind of completed most of the steps for the process. So look forward to that t-shirt. We'll definitely be looking at giving that out at our next events. Definitely GDC Square will be a great opportunity to get this new t-shirt. So if you really like EGaDS, come support us, get the t-shirt. And moving right along. Ways to stay connected. So social media, we have our Discord server, which is our main way we communicate announcements for all of our events. We have our itch page to play games that anyone in EGaDS has created, from game jams, things like that. We have our Twitter, our YouTube, where we upload like VODs from our streams and stuff like that. And then of course our Instagram, which is where we upload more announcements and also a nice, awesome reels. And then of course our LinkedIn, which is more of like the professional side to get networking within people within the games industry. And then yeah, there's a link to our Discord if you're not already in that. But it seems like most people are in that already. So yeah, right along. Joining EGaDS. So joining EGaDS is only $20. So yeah, basically that's entitles you for the t-shirt and like other benefits, things like that. So yeah, contact our treasurer, Ethan Sapio, on Discord if you want to verify your payment. And then you can also rep EGaDS for the previous shirts. I think our recent t-shirt for like the Hades t-shirt is $20, but I think other shirts are $15 or cheaper. So we have our t-shirts right over here, and at the end of this event, if you'd like to purchase any of our t-shirts, feel free to come up and then we'll give you a shirt. And then related organizations, of course, if you like game development, chances are you like gaming, so be sure to support Longhorn Gaming, Women in Gaming. We've in the past done a lot of collaborations with them, so definitely check those out as well. Special thanks to our sponsors, Unity, Zynga, Pocketworld, and Tummy Drops. And without further ado, thank you everyone. That is all from us. And we will hand it on to Justen Andrews. He's a production manager at Acclaim, and he has a lot of experience in production and publishing and many other things. Let's get a round of applause for Justen.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you, EGaDS. It's been a few years since I've been here, especially to do a keynote, so I'm really happy to return. And so I've always been a big fan of EGaDS, big fan of everything that UT is providing students, not just at here at UT, but kind of within the community, the greater kind of dev community, as well as for the other schools. There's ACC, there's St. Ed's, and all those programs. It's really great that we are in kind of a city and an area where we can all collaborate together, whether it be through game jams or through John Henderson has his game dev beer night. So yeah, it's really great that you're in a place with a lot of community, and I'm happy to be here and support you guys through this. Thanks. Yeah, I got some notes here that I might need to access. So, well, thanks. Before we get started, since it has been a minute, let me go ahead and find out a little bit about you guys. How many freshmen do we have here? This is your first year? Wow. I was not expecting that. Kind of blown away. That's awesome. Keep your hands up again. Let me see. Yeah. What's up, fishies? Yeah, it's good to see y'all. Thanks for coming here. This is exciting in a sense. I think it's exciting for you, knowing what all's ahead, the connections you'll make, the opportunities you'll make. That's you guys. Thanks. Yeah, you can put your hand down. Yeah. And then seniors. Do we have anybody who's on the way out the door? Yeah. Okay. All right. So. That's good to know. And then I'm guessing the rest of you fall somewhere in the middle if you do go to school here. But yeah, no, that's great. And let's see, what else do I want to know about you guys? Do we have, let's see, CS, programmers, engineers. Yeah, makes up a good amount of you. I see that. What about designers, level designers, scripters? Yeah, system designers. Cool, awesome. Artists, where are my artists at? I got some artists, 3D, 2D. Yeah, some of you might have your hand up in multiple buckets. That's how it works in the industry. What about any producers? Anybody here more on that kind of biz dev side of thing? Yeah, producers. One producer for all of these people, that makes about right sense. John feels me. Cool, it's good to know. You know, I think it's important to know your audience, right? I think that's something that we have to think about when we create games as well, as we have to know who the hell we're even making the game for. So it's really important, good to get a sense of you all and understand more about how I can mess things up. And let me see if I can get back here. All right. You had it all set for me, and I had to go and screw it up, right? Just like a producer screw things up. I think that, am I good? All right, let's go back just a little bit more. So yeah, so basically what I was saying, just about knowing your audience, knowing who the hell you're talking to, who the hell you're creating things for. It's really important. With that, we have a lot of different ages, we have a lot of different disciplines here. I'm going to be a little broad in what I share today. I think it's good for you guys to have, I mean, we could go, any of these things that I'm about to talk about, we could dive really deep into. We could fall down a lot of rabbit holes, and I'm happy to answer any questions when we're done. Get my contact information from the slide that's at the end. If you have specific questions, let's go. I'm here for it. But at the same time, I want to keep things a little broad so maybe it appeals to the general audience here, just in the room entirely. And a quick little disclaimer is that this is just from my experience. I am not every producer out there. I have not worked in every publisher out there. So I want to make sure that I'm qualifying all this with saying that this is Justin's checklist, I guess would be a better title for this. I have talked to a lot of publishers. I have a lot of friends that are in the industry. I've been doing this for a good minute. And I think I have a general sense of kind of collectively what all we look for. Uh-oh, battery's running low. Yeah, but I just want to make sure that you understand that I might say something today that you hear something different in the future. Doesn't mean that I'm wrong, doesn't mean that they're wrong, it just means that there's different information out there and those things can coexist at the same time. So I hope that what I shared today kind of goes into your memory banks as like stuff that you heard one guy say one time, but I should, don't take anything I say as gospel truth. It's not written in stone, it's literally a PowerPoint. So, all right. Okay, I think we're good. I think we got the engine rolling. So who the hell am I? Why am I here? Why am I even talking to you guys? Well, it's nice to meet you. My name's Justin. I've been doing things in games for probably around 20 years now. Got my start at this little company. I don't know, it's not really a thing anymore. Maybe some of you heard of it. I was an assistant manager there for a while. That was kind of my out of college before I went to college, because I didn't go to college until I was in my 30s. My college age job was at a GameStop. And it was actually really helpful for me. It allowed me the opportunity to talk about games with people and find out what they like about them, what they don't like about them, hear their gripes, their complaints, what gets them excited, and also a little bit of the business side of things, a little bit of sales, a little bit of distribution, and a whole lot of marketing. So that was really helpful. It was really foundational in a lot of what would end up being my game development career. After that, I moved to this area. I went to Texas State, so I'm not a UT alum, but I am a Texas school alum. And I went for PR and communications. While I was there, I started working at a couple of PR firms, which was really great. It got me into kind of the work mindset of client work. I did some stuff, cool stuff with esports with Dr. Pepper Gaming when they were still doing that, and that was really fun. It's cool to see all the esports stuff still going on here. I really dig that. And then afterwards from that, I started working with some Game Award programs, doing their community management. Again, something that kind of got me connected to why we lift up games, why we celebrate games, what makes a good game, why does this game get an award and this game doesn't. So that was really helpful to just kind of like learn and understand, and also be in that act of celebrating games. Later on, I started doing some stuff with John Henderson. We actually had a program at the Hoft Institute, which is right down the street. It was the Game Design and Development Lab, where it was kind of like a little bit of a post-grad program for people who maybe finished the program, like what you're in here, and we're still needing a little bit more portfolio work. And so we did that for a while, and that got me really connected to academia, got me connected to student devs, got me connected to kind of the learning process and what that was like. And as well as I worked for a couple companies that were based out of kind of the Austin area, these people in Austin, both Proteus and Sandshark. Sandshark did Roblox games, and Proteus did mobile games. So in that I want to share, I mean, it's really interesting. A 6-year-old gamer versus a 46-year-old gamer are very different creatures, right? So it's important to understand kind of what makes the 6-year-old want to play a game and what makes the 46-year-old want to play a game. And same with mobile, right? I think back in the day, at least when I was coming up, mobile was seen as this very casual type of gamer, but a lot of mobile games are not casual. I've seen some people play Clash of Clans, and I'm like, they are not casual at all. So, and maybe you have friends like that who are just like really hardcore into a game on their phone. So, yeah, I've gotten a chance to kind of dabble in a lot of different things. As far as production-wise, I was at Graffiti Games as a producer, and I lost. Did I hit it?
Did you?
Maybe. I don't know.
You did.
I did. Quit pushing buttons, Justin. No, it might.
Okay.
It's flashing at me. So yeah, just to keep time going, I was at Graffiti Games, and that was my first stint at production, and I really enjoyed that. I worked a lot with indie games. It gave me a chance to kind of get a lot of stuff under my belt, learn the process, learn what it takes to get a game from A to Z all the way through its life and get it out the door and sold. And I worked with my CEO, Alex Joseph, there. Really enjoyed the relationship that we had. And then when he got tapped to go lead Acclaim, I kind of was just like, oh, hey, what you got going on? He pulled me over to Acclaim, and I was really excited to move. Does anybody here, I'm curious, does anybody here know Acclaim? Is that like a familiar name to anybody here? Oh, see, that's interesting. First old hats, first people that have gray in our hair right now. Acclaim was a video game company that was around back in the 80s and 90s. They released things like NBA Jam. They released all the home consoles for Mortal Kombat, Turok, the Turok series, if you're familiar with that, and a bunch of other weird random games that some of the WrestleMania games and a bunch of other stuff. So in the early 2000s, it dropped off. It came back for a small little stint to do like Korean MMOs. They started publishing some stuff like that. And then it fell off again. Well, now this is the third iteration. So me and a couple colleagues, we dusted off the brand, and we're trying to revive it. And it's been a lot of fun so far. We're actually working on quite a few games. Some of them, most of the playing games are on this side. This is some stuff that I worked on with Graffiti, as well as some of the stuff that I worked on with my kind of community that I started called Glitchworks, which is all about playtesting for publishers and getting developers feedback on their games. So, yeah, I've had a fun career. It's been really fun. I work in games because I don't think I could do anything else. I don't think I could work in healthcare. I don't think I could work in government. I don't think I could work in other things. Games to me doesn't feel like work, but that doesn't mean that it isn't work. It is a hell of a lot of work. And so a lot of you might be asking, like, what does even a publisher do? I know they're the people that take all the money from the devs, right? But what is it that they actually provide the developer? And I won't go into everything. You guys can read, I hope. But the long of it, the short of it, is that they mitigate risk and they mitigate time. Developers, those are both things that are really scary when you're kind of a developer on your own. You're putting a lot of time, a lot of heart, a lot of energy, and a lot of money into something. And a publisher can kind of come in there and help organize some of those tasks, take off some of the workload, and there's a lot of workload in that. Yeah, they provide development funding. You know, if you're like, oh, I need money to make my game, they can provide that. But then they also provide a lot of services and support to where developers are making the game. They don't have time to work on the porting. They don't have time to work on the QA. They don't have time to work on the localization or to do all the myriad of marketing things that are required to make a game. So publishers can come in and kind of help undercut and help with some of those tasks. So that way the developers can do what developers are good at, which is hopefully making games. Yeah, make sure I got everything. Oh yeah, it looked like a lot of notes. I'm going to read through this stuff pretty fast, so not too long. Somebody give me a time designer or something. Give me some time if I'm going over or something. But yeah, the idea is that, you know, it's to put power behind the developer. And that's a lot of times what a publisher does, especially an indie publisher. I think when we think of publishers, sometimes we think of the EAs, the Ubisofts, and a lot of the games that they're doing, they own the game, right? It's their game, so they're kind of synonymous with the developer in that sense. They're the developer and they're also the publisher. A lot of indie games, they don't have that reach. They can't do global markets. They can't get their game in China. They can't get the game in Japan. They can't put the game on every console. So they're going to need to partner with a publisher in order to get their game to have some additional reach and scope. But what we're going to talk about today is what it actually looks like when I get pitched a game. And what happens in those first 60 seconds. You know, most game trailers are about 60 seconds long, right? Because that's about as long as our attention will have to kind of like just take something and be like, oh, I understand this thing. And within 60 seconds, for most trailers and most things that we go and kind of research, we kind of get a good feel of something really quickly. We know if we're into something, we know if we're interested in something, we know if something is not for us. We can usually tell faster than 60 seconds. Usually it's maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, where it's like, nope. So when I get a build from a game developer, a studio, especially an indie studio, you know, it's usually in the middle of my workday. Maybe I have a bunch of other pitches that I'm looking at, and so I got to kind of make those decisions really fast about, is this something that I want to take to my team? Is this something I want to advocate for? Is this something that we should take more than 60 seconds to look at? And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit today, is like, what are some of the thought processes? What are some of the things that I'm looking for with both the pitch, which is the deck that you're sending to the publisher, as well as the build, you know, the actual game that you're providing. You're like, hey, play my thing that I made. And so we'll talk a little bit about those two items and kind of what goes through my thought process as I review them. We'll start with the pitch. So what, you know, it's just like any other first impression. You know, when you meet someone, you get a vibe with them pretty quick. When you see a movie trailer, you get a vibe with the movie pretty quick. It's the same with a game, and it's the same with that pitch deck, too. The pitch deck is kind of that first introduction, that first impression that you're giving to someone about your game. And a lot of times when I get them, I'm not getting them. It's not like I'm getting handed it with the dev right there, and they can start telling me about it and gushing about it. A lot of times it's just an email. And I just click on the PDF, and then there I go, I'm there. And so I got to make some of these decisions pretty fast, and I got to start processing this information pretty quickly. So what am I looking at that determines whether or not this is my first impression, and I want to know more, or if this is the last impression, and I'm like, this is probably not for us. And I've got a few things listed here. And some of this might seem a little common sense, so I'll riff on it a little bit and let you know more specific about what I mean around these things. But firstly, can I understand immediately what I'm looking at? Do I understand what genre this is? Do I get a sense of how the game is played? That's usually the first thing that I kind of want to know. I've gotten decks before where I'm like, I don't know what this is. Is this RTS? Is this a fighting game? I have no idea. So I usually, that'll be the first thing that I'm trying to process is, what the hell even is this game? Can I immediately understand what I'm looking at? And then what I'm looking at, does it look like a real product? Does this look like something that came from a game jam, which I love game jams, don't get me wrong. And a lot of really great games have come out of game jams. But if I'm getting a deck, I should be able to kind of discern, does this look more like a real product, or does it look like a student project? And as a publisher, and when I'm evaluating risk, I'm going to take that into account. And so if I get the deck and I'm like, oh wow, this looks like a real thing, this looks like it might already be out, that's going to be much more helpful than looking at it being like, oh, I think they just got done with the game jam yesterday, now they're sending it to me. So, yeah, I'm trying to understand, does this look like it could be a real product? seem organized and prepared? You know, is this something where I can trust and feel their education, I can trust and feel their skill set, that they have a good business sense, that they know what they're doing, they've come to the table prepared, they understand their game, they understand the questions that I might have for them, they've done their research. And then, is this a game that people want to play? Is it a genre that I think is popular or familiar right now? Is this something that people are going to be interested in playing? Or is it some weird, I don't know, like a weird 4X game that's super obscure, that's Victorian era, that, I don't know, that maybe just is only going to pertain to a certain amount of people, which is fine, but that's what I'm trying to understand. Is this game something that the masses are just going to kind of go crazy over, or is it going to be a super kind of niche audience that we need to target? And then maybe a little bit more on the technical side, or a little bit more related to the specific development is, what are the tools that this game is using? You know, what's the engine? How does it fit into our pipeline as a publisher? So in other words, we all know Unity, right? I imagine we all know Unity. We all know Unreal. We all know Godot. Any people who actually use Godot? I'm curious. What about Game Maker Studio? Yeah, Game Maker Studio, cool. Maybe out some other ones, some really obscure ones that you might be working with. Say it again. Any other ones? Yeah. So and then whatever proprietary one that you're doing, whatever like JavaScript engine that you got going on, that's like something you made, you know, and you're like, I'm gonna make a game on this. But the idea is, I need to understand what tools you're using. I need to understand what are the things, because I need to have that fit into our pipeline. Maybe our reporting team we don't have any Godot engineers. And that's something I need to understand and need to know. Maybe you're using a plugin that's really not going to fly on console. Maybe it works great for PC, but not good for console. And maybe it's important. Maybe it's your multiplayer engine. You know, maybe it's everything that runs that. So it's really important that I understand the tools that you're using, and I need to be able to evaluate how will those tools fit inside of our production pipeline. And then is there potential to scope this game's IP? I don't know. Can I see it in some kind of transmedia thing? Would this make a cool comic that we could release? Does it have a cool character design that's going to make awesome plushies? How's this going to look on a t-shirt? And then also, is this something that might warrant a sequel at some point, or DLC, or additional content, or customization type stuff, or additional additional spend or additional energy around other elements that could be pertain to it? Is it something where this is going to need to have a showcase? Is it a rhythm game where people are going to not really understand it until they get their hand on it? So there's a lot of things that I'm looking at as far as like the scope of the game and the IP and how much we can grow that and help you build that. And then what's unique about this particular title, right? I imagine that if you're making a game, there's probably something about it that's different. You're probably not making a Mario clone, right? It's not like a little plumber that's jumping around, jumping on things that are called like Goombas instead of Goombas. The idea is that you're making something unique and specific to you, and I want to be able to feel that. If it feels like just every other roguelike out there, then that's probably going to be less interesting to me. So I'm going to be looking for what is unique about your particular title that's different than anything else. Thanks, I appreciate it. And I think what's important is to realize that your pitch materials need to feel like your game. If you have kind of a humorous game, if there's something that's like funny about it, I should feel some of that humor in the pitch deck. I should maybe chuckle or smile or laugh in the pitch deck. It shouldn't be maybe overly serious if you're making a funny game. But if there's good art, then I should see that art reflected in the pitch deck. I should get a good sense. That pitch deck should feel like the game, because I haven't even touched the game yet. I haven't even talked about the game yet. We're all talking about this piece of kind of digital media that's just still, maybe there's some videos, maybe there's some GIFs, maybe you have some images, but it should kind of feel like your game in a sense. I should be able to connect the dots between your game and what you just shared. But just a few extra notes on this. One, note that your pitch deck is not a design doc. I don't need to have the entire bestiary of every single character that's in your game. I don't need to have, if you're making a fighting game, I don't need to have like every single moveset for every single character. I get a lot of pitch decks that are just very, very detailed, and I end up having to scroll through a lot of that stuff because remember, I'm trying to get through the first 60 seconds just understanding the core tenets of the game. Just the base foundational feature set, trying to understand what's the scope of the game, what's your plan, who are you, what's the team. So I don't really need all the additional design doc stuff, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a GED available. So it's definitely something where don't maybe include it in your deck, but definitely have it either as a link or have it ready for the publisher asks and they're like, hey, you got a GED, I want to learn more about this. Then you'll have that ready for them. But just know that you don't have to include it in the doc. And then know your ask inside and out, right? Like when you want to connect with a publisher, you're probably asking for something, right? You're asking for some kind of support. Most of the time it's developer funds, right? I'm asking for $50,000. I'm asking for $100,000. I'm asking for $2 million and your firstborn child, is like one of my colleagues likes to joke. But know what it is. Know what you're asking for, and also know why you're asking for it. If you have a game and you need $100,000, or you say you need $100,000, and you know it's going to take you 16 months to build that thing, well, then what's that like each month? What's the breakdown of that look like? What is how is that money being allocated and spent within your company or by you if you're a solo dev? So yes, have a GDD, but also have a budget breakdown too. Again, it doesn't have to be in the deck, but it's really important that you know that a publisher is probably going to want to know those things, especially if you have a hard ask. And it's something to not just have like a number, like, oh, I've heard $100,000, I'll ask $100,000. You really want to know, how are you spending that money? How is it being allocated? And show that to the publisher so they're like, oh, we can trust giving this person, $250,000 is because they have a very deliberate way that they know they're going to spend it over the next 12 to 16 months. And then yes, be knowledgeable with your comps. By comps, I mean the market comps or sales comps that you include in your pitch deck. So a lot of times when you go and you're like, what's in a pitch deck? And they'll say, oh, you put a market comp or a sales comp. And that's something that's trying to communicate to the publisher where your game fits within the realm of gaming, right? So if you're making a battle royale game, you're going to say, our game's like Fortnite. And we're going to make as much money as Fortnite. And that's probably not true. In fact, it's very highly unlikely true. So just know when you're giving comps, if you're going to give sales comps, I would just say don't. Like, chances are you don't know how much that company made on that game, you don't understand all the financials there, so you can't really get a good understanding of what those sales comps were. You're like, well, it cost this amount, and if you multiply that by how many games I think they sold, it's probably, the math is not going to math out. So I would recommend not doing sales comps. Publishers have marketing people, sales people that they can look at your game and compare it and know what the comps and what the projections might be for that game. So I would just say don't bother with sales comps there. It's easy. Don't even have to worry about it. But I think what is good is knowing what your market comp is, right? I'm making a top-down 2D action-adventure game that's got a sword-wielding character and you fight a big bad, right? So I'm going to say my game is like Zelda, right? Which it could be true, and it could be true in a market comp, but there's probably something that's more specific to your game, right? You're probably not making Zelda. You're making something else that's inspired by something that was inspired by Zelda. So really get those comps to be practical, get those comps to be something that you're knowledgeable about, that you can talk about, and be something that's realistic. Because yeah, a lot of times too, if you're trying to make comps that don't make sense to me, it just makes me seem like you don't know what you're talking about in a sense, or you don't understand the business side of that, especially when it comes to sales comps. So yeah, it's great. You want to make a game that's like Hades? Awesome, cool. You say, hey, this game was inspired by Hades. This is the way in which it was inspired by Hades, right? Because we have a branching narrative that you kind of develop over the course of the game, because it's a roguelike and you die and you go back and you do things. So that's fine. I know what a roguelike is, but it's good to spell those things out. So if you want to make a market comps and say why your game is like something, that's great. Just know that you can't bullshit a bullshitter. So don't make shit up. If it's something that you know to be true, then that's great. If it's something that you know is connected to your game, awesome. But if it's something where you're just trying to make up numbers and say our game's gonna make $1 million. Well, why? Why is your game gonna make $1 million? Why do you think your game's gonna make $1 million? And then lastly, community and social numbers matter. This is really helpful if you already have a community. Say you've been talking about your game for 6 months now. You got a Twitter, got Blue Sky, you got a Discord. You've been posting about it. Something popped off. People like your idea, your game. great traction, awesome. Include that in your deck. Let us know that people actually want your game. That's a great thing for a publisher to be like, oh, look, people already want this game. They're already interested in this game. It's really helpful. It's not everything, because on the offhand, or on the other side of that, you might have somebody that you might have a publisher that wants to keep that on. It's a really cool thing when you get a game pitch idea and you're like, nobody knows about this yet. Oh wow, this is like super top secret. I had to sign an NDA just to get this pitch deck. There's something nice about being able to break that news, right? Have that world premiere. We all know Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards, like world premiere. Publishers do like that a lot. They like being able to break that news. But a lot of times with indie publishers, it's not worth the risk. Nobody knowing about your game doesn't help us feel better that maybe your game's something people actually want to play. So note that there's a couple different strategies in there, but if you have community numbers, if you have social numbers, then go ahead and include them, because they're probably going to help you. If you ran a Kickstarter and tried to raise $35,000 and ended up getting $75,000, that's awesome. That's great. Let us know, because that lets us know that people want to play your game. People are interested. You already have a community. You already have people that are willing to buy your game. So if you got those numbers, definitely make use of them. And remember, all this is to serve the idea, for the pitch at least, all this is to serve the idea that this is like your presentation. This is how you're presenting your game for the first time. And that presentation is going to create interest. But outside of that interest, it's going to be that thing that you've made, that game that you've created that's going to make someone a believer. It's going to create that spark. It's going to create that energy that they're like, oh man, I got to play more of this. So yes, you have your pitch, but it's also the build, and the build matters a lot. So let's talk a little bit more about the build. Yeah, is it something that's making me want to play? Is it something that's got my hands on the controller and I just can't put it down? Or am I just like, I'm just done. I can't handle this. This is too much. And that's important. And so what does that look like when you're sending a build to a publisher? Well, I guess the first thing is, do I need you there to tell me how to play it, right? I think I've seen this a lot at like student showcases and maybe with game jam stuff, game jam showcases. 1 second. These are more like cough drops, so I can actually talk. Yeah, you see somebody that's there telling them, okay, so you're going to have to go up here. Okay, now you're going to have to turn left. Okay, now go press the A button. Yeah, because that's what do that. Like, I should be able to do that if you've given me a build of your game. I should be able to do all that without having the dev right there telling me how to do it. And ideally, it'd be good to not have to have like a one page next to it that's got all the controls listed out. There should be something in the game that's either telling me how to play the game, or it should be so intuitive to where it's like, oh yeah, I've played a game, I know this is jump, I know this is shoot, I know this stuff because it's the same in every other game. But that's something that within that first 60 seconds I'm trying to do is can I play this game on my own, or do I need to have help? Does someone need to hold my hand, please? Then yeah, does the UI UX make sense? Can I decipher the language that I'm needing to be able to play your game? Are you communicating that well? Do you know how to communicate that to me as a brand new player? So something that we talk about in the industry is the first time user experience. It's called FTUI. It sounds like you're hawking a lookie. But FTUI, first time user experience. When I play your when I play your build for the first time, I will never get that experience again. I will forever have understood your game, and that will be the experience that I've had for your game. I can never be a first-time player of your game ever again. Even if you've changed the game, even if you modified things, I'll still have that original experience in my mind to go off of. So you need to treat the person that's playing your game as a first-time player and communicate to them as if they've never played this before. And yeah, a lot of that is done through the UI. A lot of that's done through menus. It's done through where do I go? What do I click on? And so that needs to be pretty polished, and it needs to be pretty well thought out in order for me to feel like, oh, these devs have got it, they know what's up. And then yeah, does it feel good to play? Even now, even if it is a prototype, even if it is just a vertical slice, just a little section of the game, or even if it's just a demo, maybe it's the first section of the game or whatever. But does that even feel good to play? Is that enjoyable? Did I have fun? Do I want to keep playing? And then of course, how broken is it? I don't expect any build I get to be flawless, but I promise you I remember the ones that were. I remember the games that I got handed that were just like, damn, this is tight. This feels good. It's got polish. And those games, the 2 or 3 that I'm thinking of, are ones that we ended up signing. And the whole team felt it too. So a little bit of polish in your game goes a long way. And cleaning up those bugs really will help the publisher feel a little bit more like you know what you're doing. Because if you've given me something that's supposed to be what you're selling me your game idea on, and it's really broken and buggy, I'm going to be worried that that is either okay for you, like you're like, oh, I'm good, it's cool, like they can get around it, or it's just something where maybe you don't know. You haven't play tested it enough. You haven't actually gotten in your build enough to know what all the issues were with the game. Publisher experience your game for the first time is not a good time for QA. And then because of that, and because of kind of what are the polished parts, what are the parts that are still undercooked or maybe a little broken, can I see a path between the experience that I'm playing now and what they want to do at the end? Can I see that already? What is that distance like? What is that journey going to be? Is it going to be a hard fought? Is it going to be something where it's like I'm going to be worrying about this game the whole way through because everything's going to be a broken, buggy mess? Is there any way that I know that they're going to be able to polish this game? I need to be able to see kind of and understand from where you're at now and what you sent me, where's the final product come into play? How's it going to feel? And then, could this serve a larger audience of fans? As I'm playing a game, maybe it's like super difficult and it's super challenging and hard. Well, I'm going to understand that that's going to narrow down some of that slice of that pie, that market of who can actually, get through the game. You're making a Souls-like? Awesome. There's a lot of people out there like that. Well, is there anything in your game that maybe will allow new players to come in or players that aren't as good at that genre? That's also something I'll be looking forward to. For example, if you're making a racing game and your racing game has roguelike elements, well, that's probably going to be different than a racing sim game that's like really technical and you're changing all the parts and stuff like that. So it's kind of knowing where the audience is going to fit. Is this going to be something that can bring in a new audience, or is it going to be something that's limited to the people who are looking for this very specific type of game? And that's something that I'll be looking for when I play your build. So in short, it's got to have a hook, right? It's got to have a little bit of that juice available that I can kind of like taste and understand and know that it's there. I got to be able to feel like, man, this is something I kind of just don't want to put down right now. Well, I know I got to get back to work, but I kind of just want to keep playing this game. And if you can do that, if I can be in the middle of my workday and blow an hour because I'm playing your demo, whew, that's good. That's a good thing. It sucks for me, but it's great for you. And then does it show off what you got? Does it show off your skill set? Is it a good look at what are the things that you're bringing to the table? What are those unique qualities and skill sets that you have, or what's unique to your idea? Is that feature set? Is it tight? Do I believe in these devs? And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. I very, 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 very few pitch decks, few builds that I play, playables are perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. At the point that you're pitching someone, usually you're still a year or 2 years out of development, so there's no way it's going to be perfect. But is it clear? Are you clear in the vision of what you're trying to do? So that's what we're looking for. What we're really looking for, at least, we are looking for that clarity. Do these devs, or does this dev, do they have a clear vision of what they want to create? Do they have the focus and determination to know what they need to know to be able to get through that? Can they lock it down? Can they deliver? And we're looking for that. We're looking for that deliverability. We're looking for that. Can they execute on their idea? Because finishability. We got to know you can finish this thing. That's something that we're taking a huge risk on when we're working with devs. Is just, hey, is this product actually going to see the end? Are we actually going to release it? And then is it a market fit? Not just with the general market, not just like, oh, are people out there going to like this, but does it fit our portfolio as the publisher? There's a lot of different publishers. Are you pitching a cozy game to someone like Devolver, right? Which I don't know, there's not too many cozy games for Devolver. I could be counting myself out there, but does it align with who you're pitching and what you're pitching for? And then also that team maturity. What that looks like is really just, one, have you done it before? Have you ever released anything before? That's a huge thing. If you've already done that, then you probably know a lot, and for all that's the battle. But what is the experience? Have you worked with this team before? Is it something where you guys all went to school together? You know these people. There's not going to be a lot of interpersonal conflicts. That's going to mean that this game falls apart. 4 months into it. And then also, do they have a business savvy? Like we were mentioned earlier with the game design doc or the budget doc. Do they actually kind of know some of the business stuff? Do they know enough of what they're doing that they're putting their best foot forward and they're taking a solid crack at the business side of things? Thanks. And yeah, all that stuff matters because very few games actually make it. We probably all have a huge backlog of games. I'm sure we're all pretty much aware of, there are just way too many games out there. And I say too many in like a loving way, because it's good that there are too many games out there, but at the same time, we don't have time to play all those games. You don't have time to play every game that comes out. So we have to be selective with the kind of games that we play, which means some games are making money and some games aren't. That's just the nature of it. And it's important to realize that around 2% of games make more than $1 million. And in the indie space, that could be something that's kind of unexpected. A lot of indie games don't think they're going to be making the money that they make when they make it. Undertale, Stardew Valley, Latro, some of the ones that we all kind of know. Oh yeah, those games popped off. They didn't even know that they were going to pop off. So it's important to understand that your game will hopefully fall somewhere between that the average kind of middle revenue of less than $1,000, which I think it's oftentimes the case where a lot of games on Steam don't even break $1,000, and then that $1 million mark, right? Like hopefully your game's gonna fall somewhere in the middle, but it's important to know kind of where it sits within that, and having honest expectations and an honest understanding of what the potential is will help you with that. But that's not to get discouraged, you just got to be realistic with what you're trying to create, be realistic with what the audience is for your game, and be realistic with the timelines that you have and the resources that a publisher can provide. And yeah, but it's going to be on your own strengths. You're going to have to lean on those things that make you unique, that make your team special, and really do your best to try to make the best game possible and put your best foot forward. And this is something I kind of have to say in everything is iterate on that game, right? Like, very few of the best games were made in a vacuum. Those people got feedback. They got people to give them insight on what they liked about their game and didn't like about their game. And that's something that can be so helpful in taking a kind of a good game and making a great game, or taking a horrible game and making at least a good game, is just hearing from people and getting that feedback and iterating on your game to make it better. And I hope that's something that matters, because at the end of the day, we all just want to make a good game, right? I don't think anybody goes into it thinking, I want to make a bad game. I want to make a game that really sucks. Some people do, and maybe even some of those games blow up, but most of us want to make a good game. So you really just focus on making a good game, because in the end, that's the most important part. That's the most important thing that you can do. It's a lot easier to market a good game than it is to market a bad game. So if you just focus on making the best game you can make, a lot of the stuff might be easier than you expect. So that's it. Yeah, so good luck, have fun. I hope I wasn't too doom and gloom. I think there's a lot of doom and gloom in the industry right now between job market and between some of the sales stuff like I was talking about. Yeah, for those who are freshmen, you got some time. You're not in the job market right away, which is good. The best thing that I can recommend that you do is just make connections, work on your skills, learn the things that you don't know, because there's somebody out there who will know those things, and you want to be in the realm of those people that know the things. So figure out where your knowledge gaps are, and our industry is one of constantly learning, constantly growing. So just know that after your 4 years here, or 5 years, or 6 years, or however long it might take you to get out of here, your learning's not done. It's still going to continue, and it's going to be on you to continue that. So I think there's a lot of kind of doom and gloom in the industry, but there's a lot of hope in the sense of what you can do for yourself. And I think the people that I know that have survived this industry and done well in this industry are people who understand that very well, and are people that put themselves first in the sense of like their own education, their own development, their own growth, and they understand the importance of connections, Some of the people that are in this room right now will end up working for some of the bigger companies and bigger game studios. So it's really important that you make friends and meet those people. I can think of people from EGaDS in years past that I would happily hit up if I need a job. And there were students at EGaDS that I was talking to, and now I'm like, man, I'd love to go work at like Naughty Dog, or I'd love to go work at Insomnia, or I'd love to, work at some of these studios that they're working at, or Riot, or some of these other places. So you never know the people around you, what they might end up doing, so don't take them for granted. And yeah, I guess if we have time, I'll take a few questions. We got time? Okay, cool. Does anybody have any questions? I promise I won't stop y'all from getting pizza. It's perfect timing though. John's always got I love John. He's always got the first question. Always, every time.
It's permission for everyone else to be something to think about. But you had mentioned about how developers oftentimes don't know if their game is going to be a hit or not. Yeah. So how important is it for a developer to understand their audience at that level? Yeah. If, like you said, you just need to make a good game. Yeah. But also a relationship and a partnership with a publisher necessarily means you're going to be working with them about who this is supposed to be for. So how important is it for them to understand their audience before the fact?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that is kind of the $10,000 question. How important is it for you to know your audience before the fact? This idea that games are art, right? We want to make the thing we want to make because we want to tell a story, we want to create an experience or something like that. But then games are also a business; they're also a product. You got to convince people to actually spend money. If you want to keep making games and do that as your job, then you need to sell those games. And so you need to be able to actually have people that want to buy it. The only way that I know of that you can actually guarantee that people are going to want to buy your game is to actually give people your game and be like, would you buy this? That's the only way that I know of, is to actually hear feedback from people saying, oh yeah, this was fun. Oh yeah, I'd pay money for this. And that's part of it, right? It's just getting it into the hands of people. And that's something you can do early. That's even something you do like a game jam game. It's like, hey, this game jam game is a lot of fun to make. I enjoy this team, and the game seems fun. Well, let's get people to play it and see what they like about it or what they don't like about it, right? That's the bigger question. I always, anytime I give somebody a game that I've worked on, the first question I ask them afterwards is, what did you not like about this game? Because we can all find things we like about games, but I want to hear what they didn't like about a game, and I hope that maybe you're asking that hard question too. Wait, what did you not like about this? Because that's going to get you closer to the idea of what they do want to play and what they would like to play. So yeah, it's important that you, to answer John's question, it's important that you know who it is that you're making the game for, but it's also important that you listen to the people that you're making the game for, getting their feedback. And that could be something like an open beta. It could be something like a closed beta, but just betas. It could be something like early access. Right? We see a lot of games. I mean, there's a reason why Baldur's Gate 3 was so good when Baldur's Gate 3 came out. And it had a long early access, and it had a lot of people giving feedback, and it took into that feedback. So if you want to make something that's like that good, you're going to have to learn from people and hear from people and find out what they don't like about it, what's not working for them. And then maybe you'll have a game that's, selling bukus and stuff like that. But if you just made a game inside your little bubble with your friends, and you've just given it to family to play, there's no way that you're going to know if that game is something that people want to actually spend their money on when they can buy this game instead of this game over here or something like that. So it's just information. You got to get more data about how people feel about your game to know if it's something that's going to be marketable. And then you also have to release some of your expectations. I want to make this thing, but everybody else playing it wants me to make this. Well, then there's your line in the sand. What is it going to be? If you're making a game for yourself, then just fucking make the thing you want to make. Who cares? Nobody cares. Make the thing you want to make, and the people who will love it will love it. But if you're wanting to make a game that sells, wanting to make a game that lots of people want to play, then you got to ask lots of people what they think about your game. Thanks, John. I saw another hand. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier that publishers do like a lot of things. It's more of a question about yourself, honestly. What sorts of things were you doing specifically?
So I say within my company, oh man, that's I'm working on 11 games right now, which is kind of crazy. And and we're a small team, so here in the industry, I wear a lot of hats. I mean that's really true. It's true for in the indie space, right? If you're a team of 4 or 5 devs, you're gonna probably be touching other parts of the game. Earlier when I was asking people what their disciplines are, and I was like, oh, here's a designer and who's an artist, some people have their hands. So in the industry, you do a lot of things, and so maybe I do a lot of things now in my daily life that maybe some other producers wouldn't do, maybe marketing stuff or some of those things just because we're a small team. But my day-to-day, it really depends on where the project's at. I have games that are in different stages of development. Some are early on, so I'm really working with them on design feedback and like looking at the game, looking at the first hour, 2 hours of the game, giving them feedback on that, running focus groups, running play tests. Some of the games are further along, and I'm actually like in the store in the back end, on the Nintendo store, or getting it set up and getting it ready for launch. Or I'm facilitating stuff with the porting team, right? We're trying to get the game out on consoles, so I'm working with our porting team to get them builds over, testing that on different hardware. Or I'm doing localization, where I'm kind of knee deep into getting the translated strings from the translators over to the devs and getting stuff in there and organizing it in their localization kit. Or I'm running QA, or I'm helping facilitate QA, or I'm actually communicating with the QA team and the development team and kind of helping collaborate a lot of those things. A lot of times I'm like a middleman. I'm like the intermediary between somebody who's actually doing the work and then the people over here who are helping facilitate and helping complete some of these tasks, right? But it's a lot for, and that's true for most producers. Producers, a lot of times, it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, well, I do emails, meetings, I do spreadsheets, and I do PowerPoint presentations. Like, that's most of what a producer kind of does. But really, the producer's in there kind of every day, checking that list of things that need to get done, making sure moving parts around. I don't want to say like the captain of the ship, but it's like the idea of somebody who's kind of knowing where we're supposed to be headed and kind of keeping the crew working together so that way we're all making sure we're headed that way. And then putting out a lot of fires, small little things pop up, small little issues occur, and so a lot of times it's fun if you like things where you never know what your day's going to be like when you go to work, and be a producer, because you'll be surprised at some of the tasks and some of the things that you have to do day to day, week to week. But yeah, it's a lot, and it's kind of all over the place. I'd love to talk more if anybody is interested in producer path or interested more what the day of life of a producer is. I'd be happy to talk about that more. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Hey, you mentioned earlier that it's important for game developers to be a little bit business savvy, especially when pitch decks.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the number 2 things that people can do to instantly set themselves up to be a little bit more business savvy, especially considering how developers get mostly into the weeds of like actually making the game and selling it?
Yeah. How many of you watch YouTube? Just enjoy YouTube content. Another hands up. How many of you enjoy watching like game development YouTube content, or not even somebody sitting there developing a game, but hearing about news and the industry and stuff like that? Yeah, there's quite a few channels. They're really great. There's a lot of. If you want to reach out, I can give you a list of the ones that I watch. But basically, the idea is just kind of understanding the industry, understanding kind of the business side of it, like mergers, acquisitions, all those things, yeah, but also too what's going on in the smaller spaces. A lot of the news right now is studio closures, or it's like, oh, so-and-so is not doing a project anymore, or whatever, but, and so sometimes it can be almost like watching the actual news, where it's just like, oh man, I'm just depressed. There's a lot of shit going on right now. But it's really important, and I think understanding what's at risk, what's at stake, understanding why are companies making the decisions. And then some of that can come from just understanding what's the money involved, and I think there's a lot of really great sources and content on YouTube that can help you kind of start watching it maybe daily or weekly and getting a good understanding of what the industry is like on more of a business level. And I'm happy to share. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to share some of my favorite kind of more news related YouTube channels. Yeah.
You talked about one of the points on the build was polish.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, so like we're told like, when you're getting like building a game, you want to have like everything very tight and like well structured before you start adding on
the polish. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna say, like, how would you weigh, like, which one would make more of an impact on you between, like, one that's super tight and, like, well made, but it might look a little flat,
Yeah.
versus one that's, like, the juice is cranked up and, like, very stylish, but there might be some flaws.
Yeah, that's a good question. If I understand you right, so it's basically when it comes to polish, right? The idea is, do I want to work more on the core game and making it feel good, or do I want to work on the kind of like the surface level stuff, the polish and things like that, right? It's kind of, I think, what you're asking. Okay, so with that, if I were to get a gray box or a white box, right? If I were to get something that's just like no art assets, nothing like that, but I have fun with it, then oh man, I'm gonna be like, dude, when this gets art in it, it's gonna be so cool. So my impulse is to say that, paper prototypes, right? If you get a paper prototype of a RTS game, not RTS game, but like some turn-based game, right? And you play the paper prototype, that's really fun. Then I don't necessarily, I trust that you guys know the fun. The fun is the hardest part, right? We've all played games that maybe look pretty, sound pretty, or something like that, but just the gameplay is not there. So yes, the gameplay is the most important part, 100%. Like that feeling good. Does your character control well? Do I enjoy that? That is the most important part. That in itself, though, is polish, the way I look at it, right? You polish that system, you polish that design, you polish whatever that experience is. Polish, I think, just means making it feel like it's complete. Like it's not like hanging on something. So it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, does it need to have that coat of paint over it? Does the cake need to be iced? Icing's good, but it's the cake that we gotta eat, right? Otherwise we'll just lick off the icing and leave the cake. So yeah, I would say the most important part is the actual game and gameplay. But polish can look like on that, it's just being really tight and then feeling really good too. Does that all answer your question? Yeah. Time, more questions or we have a few, yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of times when game developers are like you're working with a game developer, things don't go according to plan, and they might need like more funding, more time, something like that. How do you navigate those situations with the game developer?
I mean, that's a good question. That's so true. How do I say this? Very, very few games come out on time, right? You just may have only heard the date when they finally told you the date, but chances are there are probably other dates before that that you just never heard about, right? So yeah, no game really comes out. It's software development, and software development is, software. I see some nods from people who are probably like CS majors and stuff like that. Software is software. It does things on its own sometimes. And things can get, I think it's important to understand what the scope is, right? So like, make sure we're not, oh, playtester said they want to have this feature in the game, so now we're doing that feature and it's going to take another 2 months or something like that to go off rails. Also too, what might come up, hey, a playtester says that multiple playtesters say that they need this feature in the game in order to like it. We should put this feature in the game or else, people aren't going to like it. So yeah, there's a lot of those kind of like hard calls, hard decisions. And sometimes that's why it's nice to have a publisher, because it's somebody that's like, hey, look, we got to put some limitations around this. We can't blow up the scope here. And maybe that's what the game needs. Sometimes maybe it's not what it needs. And there's some challenging conversations for sure. I actually had one of those today where I was just like, oh, the plan was to add this much to the game, but we noticed that the scope was kind of getting out of whack. The time frames, maybe some money, we need to move on to other things. So what are we going to do to change this and modify this so that way we can still make time for that other stuff and hit the schedule? Other games, you may not have a tight schedule like that. It might be like, oh, we got time to add that. Or I have another game where like the dev was early on things. And so it's like, oh, now we have time. Oh, you want to add bosses to the end of every level? Okay. How long is it going to take you to do that? Well, we got the time. Let's do that. So it's a very kind of like lived moment by moment experience, which is why I say when you wake up and you go to work, you don't know what's going to happen that day. Because some of those things are they're alive in the moment when they happen, and then you got to make those calls as it happens. So yeah, I'd say that's every single game has stuff like that. A mature team, a team that's done it before, maybe has less because they know what they're baking and they know what they're cooking and they know that process. Maybe a younger team or a team that hasn't worked together very much, maybe there's a lot more of those moments. But yeah, every game has it. I would just say how big is it? It depends on the experience of the developer Grand Theft Auto get pushed. It's why you see Cyberpunk release and it's like it's showing release, something like that. Yeah, it's kind of par for the course in the industry. You had a question back there.
If someone makes a game and let's say it pops off, does really well, and they make a sequel, would they have to go to the same publisher to receive funding for that sequel? And on that note, would the publisher then technically own the IP, or would it still belong to the original creator?
Yeah, so two questions in that. One, if you make a game and do a sequel, is the publisher the one working on the sequel? And then the second question is around IP. So that's all up for grabs in the contract. That's all up for grabs in the agreement, right? You, as the developer, determine what those things are with the publisher. If you don't want to give up IP for your game, you put your foot in the ground, and I'm not going to give up IP on this game. It's just that's kind of your value set, right? That you want to bring to the table. That's where it's kind of know your ask, right? When I mentioned that thing about know your ask, I'm not giving up the IP. Oh, another flashing.
Give us some time.
Yeah, no, oh, okay. In other words, yeah, if you don't want to give up IP, then you go into that conversation, or you know what you're going to give up for the IP. Well, if I'm going to give up the IP, then I want to make sure that I'm the one working on it. I want to get first dibs at working on it in the future whenever there is a sequel or something like that. Or I'll give up the IP, but I also am going to increase my ask to be this amount because I'm giving up the IP. Not all publishers require IP. It's not something that's a part of every deal. Even with Acclaim, some of the games we own the IP for, some of them we don't. Which is part of the legacy of Acclaim is they sold off all the IP that they used to own. And so some of the things now we don't have access to because now it's with Warner Brothers or now it's with a different studio or something like that. So yeah, those IP rights can move around. So that's the answer to the IP question. It's really about you, and it's about what you want to do, and it's about how much of the rights of your game you want to give up for whatever kind of thing you're getting from the publisher. As far as for sequels, that's also in the agreement, right? So that's also a part of it. Similarly to the IP, let's say you had a really great relationship with the publisher and you want to work on the sequel with them, and there's nothing in the contract that says you have to or that they own the IP, then you can do that. Or let's say you did not have a good experience with the publisher and you're like, I want to make a sequel to this game, but I'm not working with that same publisher, then you can totally do that too. It's all depending on what you agree into the contract, and all that is up for grabs and up for debate. So I would say that there's no one way of doing it. I've seen it all done kind of multiple ways. So that's why it's important for you to go into those conversations knowing what you're willing to give up, knowing what you want, and knowing what also is best for your game. There's certain licensing rights that as a publisher, we can do a lot more for that game if we own the rights for it than if the developer owns the rights, because nobody's going to talk to us about licensing for a game that we don't own. So there might be opportunities that as the publisher we can bring to the table that the developer would have never had if they had just kept their rights. So you really have to decide on those things and depend. But you can always say, this is what I want. I want to have first dibs at being able to work on the sequel. I want to make sure that I dictate X, Y, and Z. If the game ever turns into a movie, I want to be executive producer or whatever. You can kind of make those things up and choose what you want to do. It's up to you. So, and that's something to understand. Is like when you get into those deals, it's good to have a lawyer. It's good to have some legal advice behind you, because there are certain things that you can navigate and kind of stand up for and get. I think where maybe publishers get a bad rap sometimes, it's because maybe the devs gave up or relinquished too much of their control because maybe they just didn't know. And that's why there's like a bad taste in their mouth, or that's why they maybe don't have the advantages or they don't have the opportunities that they would have wanted originally. So yeah, before you sign a deal, make sure you kind of know what you're giving up and know what you're getting out of it for sure. All right, any other questions? You sure? That's not a fun one to end on, but all right, well, guys. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's complicated. Publishing's complicated. Game development's complicated. Business is complicated. So if you ever have any questions or just want to shoot me a message, I have my Instagram and my LinkedIn there. So feel free to reach me anytime. And you'll probably see me at other events. So Please don't be a stranger. Please say hi. Thanks. Appreciate you guys listening to me talk.